Okay, so this is the S10 instrumentation program. Number one step is for you to look through all of the information that's available here for eligibility. What's required? It's absolutely required that there are at least 3, but it's best to have more active NIH users who have NIH awards, preferably R01 awards. And you have to really demonstrate a substantial need for the requested instrument. This site is very helpful to get all the information you need for that. So this is the information here. Must be multi-user, must be domestic institutes, higher education, 3 or more major users, and substantial need. So there are 3 levels of reward at the S10, starting small, 25,000 to 350,000. Going all the way up to high-end instrumentation, which is 750,000 to 2 million. So you will receive, and you have access to these links. You can go directly to the links. I don't want to go into the details of all of these. What I want to do instead is go through one of the announcements and point out how to read the announcement so you know what is needed. So the information that you're going to need to prepare your proposal is actually really already in the announcement, and you should speak to the words that they are asking you to address. So let me talk about that. First, I want to tell you about a very important place to start understanding the S10 program, and that is in the awards list. So this link to the reporter at NIH will bring up all the awards. These are recent awards for the S10 instrumentation program. And you can read their abstract and note that there has to be a public health relevant statement. This will give you a sense both about the type of request, the financial limits to the requests, and you can read the abstracts and get a sense of how these are being presented. The actual proposals themselves are all confidential, but these abstracts are very useful. Okay, so then you read the solicitation, and this is just the cover page of the high-end grant program for the S10 program. You'll read the full text of is fully available there. But one thing I want to point out is that the funding is coming from the NIGMS, and this institute is the one that supports basic research that lays the foundation for advances in disease diagnosis, treatment, and prevention. So this is telling you what you need to be addressing, explaining how this instrument that you are asking for support is going to lay this foundation for disease diagnosis, treatment, and prevention. So these are the parts. You'll read this application information, and you'll realize there are a lot of parts to cover. A question that I often get is, what's the most important part? And unfortunately, every part is important. You need to notice there are just a few words listed here, but they identify exactly what you should be talking about. So a challenge to a lot of proposals that are not well received is that there are too many words that don't address the question being asked. So when technical expertise needs to be addressed, you need to really focus. What is the technical expertise? What is the evidence of it? How is it going to benefit the instrument that is being purchased, and how is the purchase necessary for the expertise that's available? And so I urge you to spend a lot of time working with your co-PIs on making sure that what you're answering in each of these sections are actually related to the section. I think I don't want to go over, I know I don't want to go over every detail. We could be here for hours doing that, but I do want to just pull out like a few pieces. So here, for example, this is in every single one of them, whether it's the basic or the high-end instrumentation request. You have to write a project summary. And what I've done is to highlight what that summary should say: succinct and accurate description of the instrument and an explanation of the need. So you can use those very words. The reason we need this instrument is because. So the reviewers are going to be looking for those types of words. That you should have, you need to talk about the long-term objectives. Why will this instrument fulfill the long-term objectives of the project, and how is it going to enhance the health-related goals? So I would go through the text of the announcement and really outline exactly what they're asking for. So you make sure you have a paragraph about each of these things, or a couple of sentences. This is from the shared instrumentation. So this is the mid-level. So in this, they're telling you, or they're advising you to discuss the project with the research contact. So earlier, you might recall I said, call your program director or email your program director. They're telling you right in the announcement, reach out to the program director. So, the information's there. You should do it. So another point is, these are, the users are going to be talking about their funded research projects, but they're telling you they should describe their details only as necessary to explain how the requested instrument will advance the objectives. In other words, they don't want to see an entire mini proposal about that one major user's project. I use this as an example just to help guide you through the announcement to make sure that you kind of stick to what they're asking for. Okay, next, so here's a quote from the high-end program. The high-end is and you'll note that this is the one that really is available for high-end electron and light microscopes. The other two, there I have a list of types of equipment. I think this group is most interested in the electron microscopes. And you'll notice that it's really upping the game in terms of inviting a request for introduction of leading edge technologies, specialized technologies that have a lot of users who will make use, they call them technologically savvy groups of investigators. So you need to show that in your proposal that this is who you have included in your major user group.